It's Erev Yom Kippur. This time tomorrow night we will be standing in front of the Ribbon Shalom in our kittel or in our bekasha. We'll be davening, asking the Ribbon Shalom to forgive us. It's a day of pachad, fear. Who doesn't tremble when Yom Kippurim comes? But very often we're so scared. Chasimas Hadin. Everything's dependent on our performance, on our tshuva, that we lose track of the essence of the day. Yom Kippur is an incredible opportunity. Yom Kippur is an incredible simcha. One of my colleagues, a fellow friend of mine, came to me today and he said, we're leaving the office. He said, Ashreichem, we're so lucky that we have Yom Kippur. Every year, the Rabbeinu Shalom forgives us. Imagine a king, he says to me, where his subjects rebel and they do the wrong thing again and again and again. And every year he sets one day to say, okay, I'll give you another chance. Just come back to me. How lucky are we? Most kings, they would just
off with the head.
Off with the head. But our king, the Ribbon Shalom, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Molei Rachamim, accepts us back into the fold on Yom Kippur, year after year after year. The Gemara in Yuma says exactly what my colleague said. Amar Rabbi Akiva, Ashreichem Yisrael, Ashreichem Yisrael, Lifnei mi atem mitaharim umi mitaher eschem. How fortunate are we, Yisrael? In front of who do we purify ourselves, and who purifies us? Who is mitaher us? Avichem shebashamayim, your Father in heaven. Mikveh Yisrael Hashem, the mikveh of the Jewish people is God. Ma mikveh mitaher es atmeim af HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitaher es Yisrael. Just like a mikveh is mitaher tmeim. You go in Tameh, you immerse yourself. You come out, you're tar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitaher es Yisrael. On Yom Kippur, when we stand in front of the Ribbon Shalom, we immerse ourselves in spirituality, in the Ruchnias, in the Kedushas. Hayoim, the Ribbon Shalom is our mikvah. We mitaher ourselves, we immerse ourselves in the greatest level of godliness that we can access and that we can express all year round. We completely jump into it. We have these 5 Inuyim. We're not attached anymore down to this earth. We're completely catapulted into a realm of spirituality. We're like malachim, angels, standing in front of God. And we come out tahor. Ashreichem Yisrael, how fortunate are we? How lucky are we? What an incredible simcha. What an incredible mazel tov. The Sfas Emes says, in the Torah it tells us, the Tisha l'chodesh mi'erev ad erev. When it describes Yom Kippur, it says you should keep Yom Kippur from the 9th day of the month, from the night to the night. Someone says, what does it mean? We don't fast on the 9th day. Yom Kippur is not the 9th day of the month, it's the 10th day of the month. So the Gemara says, if you eat and you drink on Erev Yom Kippur, it's as if you fasted
2 days.
2 days. There's another limud that the Gemara learns from this pasuk, and that is the concept of Tosefes Yom Kippurim. Mitzvah d'oraisa l'choisef michol al kodesh bein b'tchilasei bein b'soifai, both in front of it and behind and after it. On Yom Kippur there's a mitzvah d'oraisa. You have to be mekabel Yom Kippurim before it starts.
Before sunset.
So either in Tefillah Zakah, if you say Tefillah Zakah, it says over there you're actually makabel Yom Kippur in Tefillah Zakah, but then you have to make sure that you say it before sunset. And should be right. You don't give yourself, it shouldn't be 2 minutes, it should be substantial. Just like the 20 minutes, 18 minutes, 20 minutes, just like the ladies. You know, the Mishnah Berurah talks about the ladies that they don't keep this Tosefes, and should we be mocha on them, or maybe we should just leave them alone because they're not going to listen anyways. Today it's the opposite. The ladies are the only ones that, the men that no, keep it, but the ladies light the candles 18 minutes in advance, and the men straggle into shul, at the buzzer, and
that's not good.
Yeah, but there's a mitzvah d'oraisa Tosefes Yom Kippur. You have to be makabel it.
Well, isn't that what they learned in mitzvahs Tosefes Shabbos from this also?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the makor. This is the root. So, if you're not going to be up to that part of Tefillah Zakah, you have to just say Hareini makabel alayt mitzvahs aseh the Tosefes Yom Kippurim. Say it. If you say it, right, you're ready.
Well, you should say it about Shabbos. Mishnah Berurah says you should clearly state that on Shabbos.
Absolutely.
Especially in the winter, because you're accepting it very late.
There you go. So therefore, that's the mitzvah that we learn out of this pasuk. So Sfas Emes explains what's the connection between these two drushes. There's always has to. You have two drushes from the same pasuk that you have to eat on the 9th day. It's as if you fasted, and you have to add from Chol al Kodesh. What's the connection? So he says, really, it's the same idea. Think about it a little bit. It's the same idea. In the Sfas Emes' words, Yom Kippurim is me'ein olam haba. There's no achila, there's no shtia. It's a Yom Simcha Ma'oid, he says. It's an incredible day where we get to experience olam haba. Yom Simcha Ma'oid l'Bnei Yisrael. It's an incredible day for Bnei Yisrael. But what? He says, why are we so nervous? Why don't we feel like, when you feel before Simchas Torah or Purim, how come you don't feel by Yom Kippur? You should be the happiest. All we have to do is tshuva, and the Rebbeinu Shalom will completely forget about everything we did the entire year. It's an incredible simcha, mazel tov. It's like you got married, now you start fresh again. Right?
Right.
So why don't we feel that? Right? When the Yom Tovim come, even if you're not so happy about Purim, you're happy. You get happy. How come we don't feel that? Why is it so hard for us to feel that? So Sfas Emes says it's because we're not able to lihizdabik b'simchas hazois ba'idenu ba'olam hazeh. That simcha is a simcha of a olam haba type of a simcha. It's an olam haba dika simcha, and we're human beings, so it's hard for us to. What is that simcha? What is that incredible feeling of being completely pure and immersed in godliness? What is it? We can't feel it. We can't experience it. It doesn't come naturally to us. So he says, what do you have to do? Mistavgin b'ha'aretz tosefes l'fanov l'achrov b'tosefes michol al-kodesh. That's why there's a mitzvah to add on. Because what you do is you take the day, the 9th day, the mundane day, called the 9th day of Tishrei, and you combine that with Yom Kippur. You infuse the Kedusha of Yom Kippur into the Chol, and then we can access that. That's the mitzvah Tosefes, that's the spiritual explanation of the mitzvah of Tosefes Yom Kippurim. It's an access point for us, because we can't just become malachim. And he says that's why we eat and we drink on the ninth day, so that we can be Mekayim that fasting in the way that we know how. The way it's an experience of Simcha. In fact, he says, he brings this from Sasemis doesn't bring this, but I saw, and I can't remember where, that the Su'uda that we have on Erev Yom Kippur, the Sudas Masekes, is really the Sudas Mitzvah, right? Because it's Yontif on Yom Kippur, just can't eat, so you maktim the Suda. It's at that time where you try to be Mesameh, you try to experience this elevation of Kedusha in the way that we know how. And the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us that gift, that even though Yom Kippur is a holy day, it's a spiritual day, we're supposed to be parish from Olam Hazeh, but since we can't really tap into that simcha, we don't know how, so he gave us a hakdama of a type of a simcha that we can. But really, we have to understand that Yom Kippur is really, it's an incredible day, it's an incredible opportunity. Yeah, it's Rabbeinu Yonah. So someone brings it. It's Rabbeinu Yonah. The Rabbeinu Yonah says the reason for the Suda on Erev Yom Kippur is because since you can't be Mitzvah, Rabbeinu Yonah. Rabbeinu Yonah was one of the Rishonim.
So he says the reason the reason the Suda is there is for us to get enjoyment, because normally we can't really access an enjoyment for Yom Kippur because it's like a Me'en Olam Haba enjoyment, and we're not holding
right. Because we experience the awe of the Me'en Olam Haba. We tremble like Malachim, but the incredible Simcha, the aspect of Simcha, is something that we can't really experience to the fullest degree.
I can only speak for me, but for me, at the Yom and Ne'ilah, it's probably the greatest simcha I have the entire year. Never.
Unbelievable.
It's the mamish, the highest plane that I'm on the entire year.
And you feel joy.
It's like almost a rapture. I don't know why. It's just that's. But going into Yom Kippur, especially when we've just eaten the meal, and you know that you're standing before the Rebbeinu Shalom and you're going like, you're really mamish. You're scared.
Right.
It's hard to be the simcha when you're scared.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, right. I mean, I think that's unique. That if you feel a feeling of simcha during Ne'ilah, that's the right feeling. But I'm not sure that. I think it's unique, because I would say many, or at least I can only speak for myself, just are scared out of our wits.
You have to come to Westmount.
Yeah. Or you sink. So, yeah, you have to. Anyway.
It sounds weird.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, it's mamish. It's
beautiful.
Created an incredible experience.
Beautiful, beautiful. Ki b'yoyim hazeh yechaper aleichem l'taher eschem. On this day is an atonement on you. L'taher eschem, to purify you. Mikol chatoseichem l'fnei Hashem titar. So it says in the pasuk. In Nesiva Shalom, in Maimer Yom Kippurim, called Yom Tahara B'Pnimius HaNefesh, he asks the following question. On Yom Kippurim, we always use the word kapara. L'chaper. Ki b'yom hazeh yechaper aleichem. Whereas you don't find that language, yechaper, during the year. Kapara is yechaper aleichem Yom Kippur. During the year, what do you say? Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu, machal lanu makenu givashanu. So it's slach umachal.
Right.
Slach umachal. If you examine the word Yom Kippurim, what you'll see is it's called Yom Kippurim, kapara. It's not called Yom HaMechila.
No.
Right? Or Yom HaSalicha. That's not what it's called. It's Yom HaKippur. So you see that there's some sort, the idea of the Yom Kippurim is defined, the essence of Yom Kippurim is defined by the word kapara, whatever that shall mean, as opposed to Slicha or Mechila. When the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur came in front of the Rebbeinu Shalom, and he's misvada on his par, and the par of the so he says, Ana b'shem kaperna.
Ah, right.
Kaperna. Kapara.
Tone for me.
So what is this? Since the Shalom brings a chidah in Nachal Kidumim. Chidah. On the pasuk, V'shavta ad Hashem Elokecha, you will return ad Hashem Elokecha. He says that every time a person sins, there's two ramifications. There's a tuma chitzonis, which engulfs a person's guf. So this like spiritual crust that forms around, your bodily functions, your physical attributes, the person you are. And then there's a inner tuma panemius, that crusts around your neshama. There's two ramifications, two aspects of damage, of pagam, in every sin. It makes our guf more mundane, and our neshama weakens its spirituality, if you want to say it like that. Says the Chidah, through charata, bechia, right, regretting our sins, crying over them, the tshuva process, that's how we get rid of the tuma that's engulfing our guf. But the tuma which is creating a dim neshama can only be removed when the neshama itself becomes brighter. And he explains when is that. On Shabbos he explains when a person has a neshama yisera, he gets rid of that inner crust. And the Siva Shalom says, according to the Chidah, one can explain that Yom Kippurim is the day where the neshama shines the brightest. Even though there's a bit of a machlokas in the poskim, if you have a neshama yisera on Yom Kippur when it falls on Shabbos, are you supposed to make besamim? What does your rabbi say? Supposed to make besamim?
We do, but I've read that you know.
I've read it. What's the rule?
No, on Motzei Shabbos.
Motzei Shabbos.
Five steps. Yeah.
But what
did he say to make Havdalah and then after you drink to make besamim, or just said make a regular Havdalah?
Well, what does Mishabur say?
I think Mishabur says to skip it.
Yeah, I've learned to skip it because Mark was telling me today. He said, "No, we do everything." And I said, my classical training was to skip.
Skip it even if it falls on Shabbos.
Yeah, even if it falls on Shabbos, you skip.
I don't remember that from as a kid. I don't remember skipping besamim.
I don't think we do because it says
really?
the rabbi said sent out.
I know he said that you do it.
Okay.
Don't quote me, but I think.
But what's the
either way?
What do they do down south of the Kolo?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay.
I'll ask my father, but I don't remember ever my father skipping.
Yeah, I know a lot of people. All the Shul do it,
but don't quote me on that. But anyway,
we'll look into it.
The idea is, nevertheless, right? Okay, there's not the same neshama yisera as Shabbos, but certainly, says in the Siva Shalom, we become we don't need a neshama yisera.
Right.
We completely become our neshamas. We become anymore our guf with the neshama inside. We are our neshama. Right? We are our neshama. And therefore he explains through that the Indian of Slicha or Mechila, that's the idea that the Rabbanu Shalom is mechaper our tuma chitzoni, our outer tuma, our guf, our physical tuma. But we still have this inner, the neshama is not, it's dim, it's engulfed in our chatoyim. And that is what kapara means, to atone. Which means, he says, Kinuach hachet legamri ki'ilu lo nislach lech v'chet la'olam. It's a complete cleansing of the chet. It never had any impact on us. It never had any impact on us. That's what kapara is.
Another way that I've learned is saying that it's not regular for being forgiven, it's the relationship is restored to the exact same way it was as it never
relationship,
happened. Yeah.
The relationship, the primi, the chelak elokai mimal. Maybe I'm saying it in, too high of a language, but the chelak elokai mimal that we have, which is our connection with Hashem, becomes restored.
It's like cleaning a computer from all the viruses and stuff.
Yeah, like on before Pesach, you shake the keyboard, right?
Yeah.
Or the viruses. Yeah. Usually you just wipe the screen. Okay, so you get the crumbs outside from underneath keys.
Deeper.
The vacuum.
That's what it means. That's the tahara apnimius, which is a greater tahara. Kaper no l'chatoyim. Right? That's what the Kohen Gadol asks for on the day of Yom Kippur. Not only slicha machila, but even kapara. And that's our experience on Yom Kippur. During the rest of the year, we don't ask for kapara. We can still daven for forgiveness. Hashem should forgive the chet. But and of course on Shabbos, the Chidah says we have an experience of a neshama, of a brighter, a deeper connection. But it doesn't leave us. It's Yom Kippur when it leaves us, and where that connection becomes reestablished again. One can say that according to this yisoid of the Nesiva Shalom, we can answer the Mabit. The Mabit, who wrote a sefer called Beis Elokim, he asks a question. He says, in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, you had karbanos, and you needed to bring a korban in order to get forgiveness from a sin. Today, you have tshuva and Yom Kippur. But you don't need karbanos. So why then did you need karbanos and now you don't need karbanos?
The fasting is not the karbanos?
Yeah, it could be maybe in a Neshama Parim Sefasenu, when you daven, it's like karban.
Yeah.
Right? But obviously there was something more that you needed in those times. How could we get the same kapara for without bringing a korban that they get with bringing a korban? So he says that when the Beis HaMikdash was around, we needed to have a greater kapara because you could see Hashem, it was so obvious, and you still sinned, so you needed a greater kapara, which was in the form of a korban. Right? He also says that there was such a great siyata d'shmaya to do mitzvahs when the Beis HaMikdash was around. Hashem was helping us do mitzvahs and not do averos, that if you sinned anyway, you needed a greater kapara. But one can say that according to the Nesiva Shalom, we can say
that means you can't be held accountable, but we are.
That we can say like this. In the times of the Beis HaMikdash, he also had the regular tshuva, right? There was still regular tshuva, mitzvah Torah. But the regular tshuva, only provides tzlicha u'mechila. The korban was a kapara.
Right.
The korban, even as if it never happens, we lost that opportunity, and now we have only Yom Kippur.
So the only korbanos that we have now is Yom Kippur.
No, we don't have any korbanos.
We don't have any korbanos, but Yom Kippur does the same
right?
thing.
When you fast, it's a kind of korbanos.
Right.
Because you sacrifice.
And according to this, we can say even more. That's the idea of the relationship between Erev Yom Kippur and Yom Kippur. On Erev Yom Kippur, we're masaking the chitonios, the chait of the chitonios. How? By using the same inhibitions or whatever to eat when it's a mitzvah.
Yeah.
So we rectify. We can also use. We can eat. We can do physical things in the form of a mitzvah. And the Rosh Hashanah says, "I'm going to make." It's as if you fasted. Why? Because you're doing. Because I commanded you. That's a tikkun for the sins of our guf. And Yom Kippurim itself is the inner tahara.
That's where you get the double.
So it's the inner tahara, right? What does the double mean? It's as if you fasted both days, because I have Slicha Mechila on Erev Yom Kippur, and I have Kapara on Yom Kippur. In Tehillim, David HaMelech says, Herev kabtzeini me'avoini umechatasi tahareini, wash me from my sins, and from my sins purify me. Ki pishi ani eda v'chatasi negdi tamid. My negligence I know, and my sins, my transgressions are in front of me always. Al tashlicheni milfanecha, don't throw me from in front of you. V'ruach kodshecha tigach mimeni. Yeah, in Shema Kalena, that's this pasuk is brought. It's the pasuk from Tehillim, which is borrowed into Shema Kalena. So what does that mean? Ki pishi ani eda. I know that I've been negligent.
Well, I recognize my transgressions.
David HaMelech is saying, I recognize that I sinned, and I'm ready to have a kapara, a complete forgiveness. You have to erase those sins somehow. You can punish me. You'll give me yisurim, whatever the Rebbeinu Shalom, whatever you want to do with me. Herev kapseini mi'avoni, wash me from my sins. Ki pishiani eda v'chatasi negdi tamid. I know that I have sins. And David HaMelech, the Gemara says in Sanhedrin that he was Makabel Yisurin. He had Saras for 6 months. He had 13 years. David slept in a mita, which it says in the Gemara that whatever he bled, or there was different Yisurim that he took for so many years. And 22 years was Nistalik Mimenu Ruach HaKodesh. For 22 years he didn't have Ruach HaKodesh. And every day David HaMelech used to fill up an entire cup of tears, and he used to eat pas be'efer, bread and ashes, and all of that because he was ready to accept upon himself all of this punishment, so that the Rebbeinu Shalom could wash him from his sins, from the sin of Bathsheba, from even though it wasn't really a sin. Not to say it was a sin, it's not a sin, but David was makabel on himself. That's the slicho mechila. That was his tikkun haguf, to rectify his guf from the sins that he had done. But the inner purity, he says, Al tashlicheni milfanecha v'ruach kodshecha tikach mimeni. Those yisurim, the tshuva, the fasts, the process, that a person's mitzvah, that doesn't. You can do all that and still not feel anything. A person can learn, a person can daven, and you still don't feel a connection. So after he says Herev kapseini mi'avoidi and chatasi negdi tami, he asks Al tashlicheni milfanecha v'ruach kodshecha tikach mimeni. Right? Only you, the Rebbeinu Shalom, can be metayer me from within. Only you, the Rebbeinu Shalom, can help me maintain that connection to you. In Parshas Nitzavim, the pasuk says, Vayashlichem el eretz acheres kayom hazeh nistros l'Hashem Elokeinu v'niglos lanu v'ninu halalam. Right? Vayashlichem el eretz acheres kayom hazeh. He threw us away to another land. The Pasuk describes the Rebbeinu Shalom did to Klal Yisrael. And the Nesiv Shalom explains what does it mean. Vayashlichem el eretz acheres means what eretz acheres to the Rebbeinu Shalom's everywhere. It says Vayashlichem means he threw them away. He threw them away. There's a crust around our Panemius HaNeshama, and we can't break out of it. And on Rosh Hashanah, on the Seres Mei Tshuva, we say Al Tashlicheni Milfanecha V'Ruach Kodesh Al Tikach Mimeni. Don't throw me away. Don't throw me away. Al Tashlicheni Milfanecha. Don't throw me away from in front of you. What in essence we're asking is that the Rebbeinu Shalom should bring that kapara, should reawaken our inner connection, our Chelik Elokai Mimalu. We should actually be able to feel it. When we daven, we learn, we should feel connected to the Rebbeinu Shalom. You can do the actions, right? There's probably you think of Rosh Hashanah, you think of the scale, right?
Right.
So there's a scale. There's a chet, a mitzvah, a mitzvah, right? You use that hand to do a chet, but you used it to do a mitzvah. We're going to be judged for sure. But what we're asking for on Yom Kippur is something that's bigger. That's Erev Yom Kippur tshuva. That's a Seres Mei tshuva. You have to do that tshuva. But in Yom Kippur is an experience of kapara, of reawakening our connection. Lifnei Hashem titaru, ma mikveh mitaras atmeim, af HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitaras Yisrael. Mikveh Yisrael Hashem. I once heard a different pshat in Al Tashlicheni Milfanecha V'Ruach Kodesh Al Tikach Mimeni. A Rebbe from Kol Torah told us that Al Tashlicheni Milfanecha, don't throw us from in front of you. Ruach Kodesh Al Tikach Mimenu. So Ruach Kodesh Al Tikach Mimenu is referring to the Gedolei Hadar. At the time he said like Rav Shach. Shach was still alive. Rav Shach. Ruach Kodesh Al Tikach Mimenu. These are Gedolim that the entire year they're living with Kirvas Elokim day in, day out. Their level is unbelievable. We have Gedolim today. We have Rabbi Yashiv, we have Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, we have a Gedolim. As the generations go on and on and on, we lost 3 Gedolim recently. We become less and less. The Ruach Kodesh of Hashem is in these Gedolim. Al tikach mimenu. Don't take them away from us. And don't take away the Gedolim from inside of us.
That's what I was going to say. I read that.
I said it's a different shot.
I always read it as bring it back to us. Bring it within us.
Yeah. It means both things. And finally, with this Yisod, we can answer up a Rambam. There's a bit of a contradiction in the Rambam. The Rambam says, Ketzad misvadim, how do you do vidui? Omer ana Hashem chatasi avisi b'shati lefanecha. You say, Hashem, I've sinned in front of you. Ula olam eino chozel l'davar zeh. And you have to have a kabbalah ala asir and say, I'm never going to come back and do it. That's what tshuva is. Zeu ikr shel tshuva. Zeh steht in Rambam. That's what the Rambam says. There's another Rambam that says vidui that everybody says is to say chatonu. That's the ikr vidui. Just to say I sinned. And he doesn't say that you also have to say I'm not going to sin. So to have vidui, do you have to say I'm not going to sin, or do you have to just say chatanu? We sinned.
Well, when you say as an individual, you only say as part of Israel, no?
No.
Vidui is not before somebody died.
Vidui?
Vidui.
Yeah, you say you.
Yeah.
Vidui just means a
confession.
A confession. You're confessing.
You say chatanu.
Chatanu, and you're not going to do it again.
Yeah.
Or is it just chatanu? And he says it's really both. He says the tshuva that you need to do in order to rectify the sin, the klipas achitzonim, that you need to say, I've sinned, and I'm not going to do it again. But in Yom Kippurim, the Tara happens by itself. It's the essence of the day, the Rabbanu Shalom. All we have to do is include ourselves in the club, and He'll take care of the rest.
That's the key thing of not separating yourself from the community. You're out of luck if you do that.
It's interesting, in Sefer Mabit, the last thing I'll say, he says that tshuva always helps throughout the whole year. Always helps. He says, Avam Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim Mo'ila Yoser, it helps even more. Umukubelas Gam Im Lo Tia Kol Kach Tshuva Gemura. Even if it wasn't 100%, it still will help. And that's this idea. The idea is that for sure there is an accounting, and each sin is counted, it's not forgotten, and we need to go and examine ourselves and examine our lives. And that's scary. That's the awe of Yom Kippurim. But there's also a tremendous simcha in Yom Kippur that actually is the essence of the Yom HaKippurim, the kapara that we receive, which is not exactly the din v'cheshbon on each and every sin. What it is the Rabbanu Shalom's mitar Yisrael. All you have to do is walk into the mikveh. The Rabbanu Shalom will be mitar us. Say chatanu. The Rabbanu Shalom will be mitar us. The Rabbanu Shalom will remove that inner tumah, that inner crust that separates ourselves and our Avinu in heavens. This Yom Kippurim, that's coming tomorrow, we should all be zoicha to have a complete tshuva, a complete mechila uslicha, a complete kapara. We should be zocha to be inscribed and be sealed. V'sefer Chaim Tovim, V'sefer Chaim Tovim L'mancha, V'sefer Geula V'Yeshua, V'sefer Parnasa V'Chalkola, V'sefer Zechuyois, V'sefer Slicho Mechila. And the Rabbanu Shalom should see that Ritzonenu, Lasus is Ritzonecha, all we want to do is your will. Sometimes it's hard for us. We live in a tough world. Tough challenges. The Rabbanu Shalom should look down upon us with mercy, accept us back, remove the Leiv Ha'even from within us, and we should be Zoicha to Slicha, Mechila, Kapara, B'Yom HaKippurim Haba Aleinu L'Toiva. And ultimately, the Rabbanu Shalom should inscribe the city of Yerushalayim, the Jewish people of Yerushalayim, the Jewish people of Golus, of the entire world, to a Shnas Geula v'Yeshua, where we will ultimately return to our homeland with the Binyan Beis HaMikdash and the Karbonos on the Mizbeach, so that we can feel a constant connection to the Rabbanu Shalom. B'mheira v'yameinu. Amen.